we're recording. We're going to take the first 5 minutes like we usually do. If you have any wins, this is the time that we want to hear it. And then Justine's going to come back and do our first Diva Talk training today, which I'm pretty excited about. You guys know that as founders, one of your benefits is giving a Diva Talk, which which will be housed in school in our school training library, and that'll be shared with everybody who has access to it, right? So let's start with our wins for the day. Where are all your faces? I want to see your faces, but it's okay if you can't share your face. Well, here comes some more people.
Eating. Sorry.
That's okay. I'm needing to eat too. Hello, everybody jumping in. We are looking for your wins. Hello, Sue. I didn't realize your hair was so long. How did I not realize that? How was your hair yesterday? It was all pulled up.
I had been working, I'm a massage therapist, so I had it up doing a massage, and today I'm speaking, so I have it down, and it's very long.
Very long. I'm surprised.
Yeah, thanks for noticing.
Oh, now the people are coming. Melanie, I'm totally going to put you on the spot because I heard you say several times that you didn't know what the tech session I was doing was about. So you came in not knowing what to expect. Please tell us if it was helpful. If it wasn't helpful, just say that you liked hanging out, but that's fine too.
Okay, so let me tell you guys, JKN is a tech wizard. Oh my God.
Checks in the mail.
Yes,
Checks in the mail.
and I wasn't 100% sure of what this tech support was anyway. And so I came in and I was like, is this, and several of us came in and we're like, is this for Diva support? Like what's going on in the Diva tech, in the Diva tech world? Or is this general tech support? And she said, no, this is general tech support. What can I do to support you in moving your business forward? And I need about years with her, not an hour. And this was a fantastic start. I mean, I just am so grateful. Thank you. And thank you, Arthur, for your flexibility this morning. Woo! All right. So anything else you want me to say about that, JKN? And Abigail is giving me hearts because she knows my tech world challenges. And Abigail, even JKN got stuck with some of my stuff and has to reach out for support because it's dealing with me.
No, it's not you. It's WordPress. It's WordPress. It's not you. I promise.
Yes, my love. You just haven't worked with me long enough to know people get into glitches where they go, I've never seen this before. I'm like, you're dealing with me. I don't know what to tell you.
That's great. Okay, what other wins do you guys have before we bring Justine up to train us all of the things for our Diva Talks?
I launched my brand this week. I'm excited about that. I've been working with a brand specialist, and she took all the things and made it into a visual for me that is very specific. And so I'm excited about that brand launch.
That is fantastic. There's something about knowing that you have a brand in place that just makes you feel like you have more clarity, but it makes you feel like I know what I'm talking about now. So that's amazing. Any other wins before we learn from Justine? Going once?
Connected with Melanie, and we have a follow-up meeting, and I'm excited about that. Dr. Inez and also Abigail. So just exciting stuff, just some synergies. So exciting stuff, especially the retreat with Melanie. So I'm looking forward to our meeting this afternoon, our follow-up meeting.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love to hear that you guys are collaborating and meeting outside of just the networking event on Wednesday. Okay, so go ahead, Michelle.
I just gotta get my camera on. Thank you, JKN. My win is that I have a co-creating meeting coming up next. So I'm getting mompreneurs to network and getting them all in the same room, and really excited about that. And be the first time that I'll be announcing the Mama Genius membership in there as well. So good things coming.
That's exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Justine, I think we're ready for you. So guys, or Jimmy, did you have something to say about this training? I totally ignored you. I'm sorry.
I don't have anything. Good.
Okay. Okay. So this is, and Lorna, if you have anything that you want to drop in as well to get us teed up for these Diva Talks. But here's the thing, you guys know that as founders, one of your benefits is giving a Diva Talk. It's well, I don't know what we said, 10, 15-minute long talk. But we want to make sure that because we're housing your Diva Talk in school, it'll go in the library for all of our members to have access to. We want to make sure that you are set up to give the very best Diva Talk that you can, right? We're thinking TEDx level type talks, right? And so we want you to be able to have the foundations to know how to plan those Diva Talks, how to plan them and how to give them in the best way possible so that you can grow your business and you get more visible, right? That's the whole point, right? That's the whole point. Who wants to be more visible? Okay, thank you for raising your hands. Who's given any kind, a lot of you I know have done trainings. Who's done either a TED Talk or something similar? Okay, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Who's excited to be able to learn from Justine and Lorna and Tanya and our other speaking teachers and trainers? Okay, and then I want you to tell me in the chat before we bring Justine up, on a scale from 1 to 10, let's do 1 to 5. 1 to 5, how much stress do you have today when it comes to thinking about presenting your finished Diva Talk? 1 being, I am ready to go, I can do this tomorrow. And 5 being, I need this training right now because I have no idea what I'm even thinking about. 1, Ed's ready to go. Sue's on the fence. She's right in the middle. Arthur's a 1. Okay, these are great. Thank you for sharing those numbers because I'm going to ask you again after we get to the end and see if you've moved the needle a little bit. Okay, so remind me later which one was good. 1 was good and 5 is stressed, right? Okay, hopefully I remember that. So you guys know Justine. I'm not going to spend a lot of time telling you how amazing she is because we see every day how she is working as a voiceover coach. You already know that she's going to have fire to bring to you. Before she comes up, Lorna, did you have anything that you wanted to add to the reason that we're here for these Diva Talk trainings?
No, not much to add. Just super excited to share with everybody. And here's the thing, guys, we're all speakers and we can all level up, right? So just take it all in, map it over to whatever you have, see what you can pull from what's going to be trained here to add into and enhance what you're already doing. So keep an open mind.
Great.
Okay, Justine, they're all ready for your genius and your brilliance.
No pressure, no pressure. Well, first of all, I want to welcome everybody into the space. And I like to do that with a really quick grounding. So I want everyone to put their hands on their hearts and to take a deep breath all together. Inhale, exhale. And one more time, inhale. And if you're comfortable for just a moment to close your eyes, if not, look down on some point, unfocused on your, just down. And as you take this next inhalation, I just want you to ask yourself, why are you here? And the next thing I want you to ask yourself is, how do you want to show up today? Inhale. And now I want you to ask yourself, what is the energy you want to bring to this day as you move towards your vision? We've all been talking about our visions, our creating from the future. We're talking a lot about that. As you move towards that retreat, the business model, just what is the energy 1, 2, or 3 words you want to bring. How do you want to show up? Inhale, exhale, and open your eyes. I have a question for everybody regarding how you feel, the question that was just asked, how confident are you when you get up on a stage, or how confident are you in building a talk? And there's 2 elements that I think I can help start to unearth and bring to the table. One, yes, I'm a voice talent, and I went through a process of learning how to use my voice for recordings and commercials and video games and animation. And that brought me to understand there was a lot of crossover in how I bring emotional tone into words to other things, to other people, to help other people both start voiceover careers, but also just how we show up, certainly how we show up on stage. Before I get too far away from what we just did, though, anybody want to share in the chat, if you feel like sharing, what words came to mind? What words came to mind about how you want to show up? What energy you want to bring? And share those. Because there's 2 things that we can dive into that I think I am equipped to help you with. And one is, what is my origin story? What am I going to talk about? And then how am I going to deliver the talk? Or what more confidence do I need to build inside of me to be able to confidently bring my words to life? That is truly my zone of genius, but we also have to figure out, well, what do I want to say? And I'm loving these words: grounded, balanced, joy, steady, confident. Exactly. If you guys want to stay off mute, I'm all about it, because I can't hear you laugh at my bad jokes, for one thing. And that's, so I just appreciate that. But if it's going to mess up the recording, and I might just throw some things out there that I want to hear from you guys. So first of all, let me just give you, well, I asked a question and I didn't really get an answer. So I want you to write, if it's your origin story you're most curious about learning about, I want you to write a 1 in the chat. If you would rather understand more how your delivery, where you're going to go with it, how to use your voice, I want you to write a 2. So 1 is about your origin. And this is just, maybe you want both and you write 1, 2. Okay, more, I'm seeing more about using my voice. Okay, great.
Justine,
Good.
can I ask you a quick question?
Thank you. Okay, great.
Justine,
Yeah.
can I ask you a quick question, my love? What do you mean by your origin story?
So what I mean by your origin story is your signature story, the thing that you're going to constantly go to when you are coming up on stage, the thing that's motivating you or moving you. So let me go, I'm going to do mine sort of very, very, very quickly and talk about reclaiming your voice. Okay. And thank you guys for helping me with what you just did there. So when I was a little girl, I wanted to be an actress. That was I wanted to perform. I was excited. I'm talking like, let's go back to like 4th grade. Okay. And I came forward in 4th grade with a creative writing story. And I turned it in and I was very excited. It was called The Sexy Snowflake. And I was all full of excitement about my sexy snowflake. She was cute. She had to stand on her little tiptoes to kiss her boyfriend Snowflake. And when I turned this in, I got a message from not a message, I think she announced it in front of the entire class. Mrs. Fleer said, "This is completely inappropriate. This use of this word sexy." She called my mom. And what message did that send to me? That I was inappropriate, right? I couldn't separate myself from the story that I wrote. Now, my mother backed me up, but that was the first time I remember feeling shut down by somebody. So I want you guys, and if you have a piece of paper, I want you to think back for a moment, maybe the first time someone said, "Don't say that, don't do that. Children should be seen and not heard." I've heard that a lot, especially from women. I hear women all the time come to me and say, "I'm looking to find my voice again." And my feeling is, when did we lose our voice? We never lost our voice. So this is about reclaiming our voices. The next thing that happened to me in 5th grade was all I wanted to do was be in the school play. And I was at a gifted school, which meant, you know, brainiacs, people that were really good in very highly intellectual, good on tests. And I was told I could not be in the school play because my grades were not good enough. So again, another message of I'm not enough. I can't be creative, and now I'm stupid. So what should I do? Well, I was pretty. So I really started to learn how to fit in. The next bomb drop that got on my my past pattern agenda was, and I'm not going to get into this too much, but this is a big turning point for me in my life. Around 9 or 10 years old, my parents came to my brother and I and said, we're going to have an open marriage. Well, what did that mean to me? Right? So all I wanted to do was like not be in this crazy chaos of my home, but again, go fit in. So I really learned how to fit in. I learned I was pretty. I hung out with the popular girls, but I was not myself. I was not feeling myself. Between sophomore and junior year, big turning point. My mother said, you're going to drama camp. And I'm like, I'm not going to drama camp. I'm not going to be one of those crazy drama freaks. She was like, no, you're going to drama camp. And I said, well, what if I hate it? She said, you can come home. That was enough safety for me. So I went to drama camp, and guess what? I never wanted to come home because I started to find my voice. I was surrounded with people that accepted me, allowed me to dance, sing, be crazy. Came back to school. I did plays. I did not lose friends. I gained friends. I went to college. I became a theater major. I got my first job at a Renaissance festival. Don't recommend that. But I came up with this word, and it's opportune. And it's when we have prepared for something and the opportunity arises and we can combine those things and then we can move forward. And the reason that I came up with that is because often in voiceover specifically, opportunities will show up, but if you haven't done the work, the opportunity will just pass you by. So what we are doing, a lot of us here in the DIVA Network, is we're getting prepared for the opportunity that we don't even know what's going to show up. But you're preparing yourselves. We're learning about go high level. We're learning about our voices. We're learning about creating from the future. We're learning about friction points and how to get from, the shore of the beach to the island. That's a metaphor I like to use a lot because we got to get in the boat and we don't want the boat to drift off somewhere. So in reclaiming our voices, and I want you all to think about this, especially because we are mostly women in here, but Dan, I'm not leaving you out of the equation. I want you to really think back to that when your voice felt magical. And when we have more time, I would take us through a meditation on this. And this is something you guys can do on your own. But if you close your eyes for just a moment and remember, what did it feel like when I was uninhibited, when I never cared what anybody thought about what I said or what I did? And it's not that these moments aren't natural to have a shutdown, because we become mothers. We don't all become mothers, right? We become serving other people. We talk about this a lot as women. It's our natural state to be of service, to nurture. And that's fine. It's nobody's saying don't do that. But just like Michelle has, really found a way to bond moms together to not do this fight alone. And then when you find this confidence in your voice, nobody can take it away from you unless you're the Little Mermaid, but even she got hers back. So one of the things I want to unearth is, and if anybody wants to share a moment where you felt like, okay, I remember this crazy story of when my voice got shut down. And then we have to go back into some tools to reinvigorate our voice. And for me, getting behind a microphone helped me do that because it eliminated the physical, what did I look like? And I found success in that arena. And I booked a lot of commercials early in my career. So I made a lot of money that way. And now it's audiobooks and teaching other people how to do this. And so there's a lot of skill, obviously, to using your voice, to finding different pitch, to finding, but to do it authentically. That's the name of the game. Often in voiceover, when people want to get into voiceover, they're like, well, how do I want this to sound? Or how does somebody want this to sound? More than anything, they want to hear what you're going to do with it. So when you guys get up on stage to speak, we want to hear your authentic tone. And it seems like it should be easy, but what gets in the way? Nerves, which by the way, are just energy in disguise. It's just excitement in disguise, really. And so what helps ground us? Breath, right? But really that control. I mean, how many of you have ever felt misinterpreted by somebody when you were talking to somebody, maybe your partner? Yeah, Sue is raising her hand. Oh my gosh, so many of you are raising your hand. Where you said something, like put some ones in the chat if you're like, yes, I've been misinterpreted. And if anyone can think of a story, raise your hand. Because I can think of so many times when I've said something to my kids and they're like, why are you yelling at me? And I'm like, I'm not yelling at you. What are you talking about? Because a lot of it is, Tony Robbins says this. First of all, motion creates emotion. So a lot of times when we get on stage, we get stiff and we don't move our body. So you guys see me talking with my hands a lot. In voiceover, like you can take this extreme that doesn't necessarily work on stage, right? But everyone try this for a second. Make funny faces with your face. Everyone make a lot of funny faces. And now I want you to make a really mad face. And you guys can come off mute for this. Make a mad face and say, I love you. I love you. Okay, now I want you to smile. Smile, take a breath. Slow your pace down and say, I love you.
I love you.
What would you rather hear? Right? What would you rather hear? So smile is gold in voiceover. It literally warms up the voice. What we do physically will affect what we do. Try this one too. Everyone point your finger up and say, look up. Look up. Your voice naturally will follow your physicality. That's pitching up. So now say, look down.
Look down.
Now, which one sounded positive and which one sounded negative? Obviously, like it seems obvious. So think about this when you are making a transition in your story, for instance. Your deeper, more vulnerable sound, which is why I pointed out when Jimmy was talking yesterday, I said, listen to his voice right now. He was being so real. And it was deeper. And when we get excited, our voice, our pitch goes up and our energy can go up. And so there's a game I play, and we're not going to do it today, but maybe sometime we can in a different training where we have more time. It's called emotional charades. And I literally chat you from a list of emotions, what excitement, for instance. And I can't share I may share a graph with you guys in a second, but let's go back. I asked for something about if anybody had a moment they wanted to share where they were completely misinterpreted by the listener. I saw hands go up. Is it more of a general thing? Does somebody have like one moment that feels really like a moment they felt misinterpreted? All right. Well, here's what we're going to do. Can I share my screen? Jay can? Okay. So I'm going to pull up a document. And this is specifically, we're going to talk about matching pitch and volume with emotional tone. This is a very interesting little graph I'm going to pull up. What about one story does anyone want to share a story about the moment they felt shut down? And it has to be brief and quick, but like my story of the sexy snowflake. Anything come to mind that maybe you hadn't thought of in a long time? Or it could be something. Yes, I see Abigail.
Not that I hadn't thought of in a long time, but something just happened a few days ago that shut me down.
Okay,
And
let's hear it.
so I'm working through it. I was with someone who acted as a coach and spoke something into my life, which was true, still shut me down. So now I have to make sure that I don't stay in that spot. take the information, do with it what I need to do, but keep going and not stay in the box that I felt put in.
That's right. So making that that flip, and I haven't mentioned how much I believe in stillness and meditation to bring us back to ourselves. And I'm trained with something called the Dream Bigger meditation, the freedom meditation. And the whole idea is bringing this vision and the words that you guys typed in this chat. If you hear of mantra, you know what mantra is. And often mantra is handed to us or given to us, and we actually don't know what it means. Transcendental meditation, that's a different kind of meditation. These words that you guys came up with for the energy you want to bring into your vision or today, like enthusiasm, concise, clarity, that can be your mantra every morning when you breathe, when you want to tap into your inner voice. Because what I have really started to figure out is as I grew older, right, I got into still trying to be a people pleaser. I have two boys. I got in a marriage where I really started to lose my voice. I started out, I was thinking about this morning because I actually had a dream about my ex, if I'm going to be very transparent. And I realized there was a moment that I felt supported. I felt supported in the marriage. I felt supported by this person. And some point over time, his anger became my anger. His victimization became my victimization. I took it on. I thought it was mine to change, to make another person happy. I only really understood my own happiness through the eyes of another person. And that is where I started to lose my voice again. So I think the concept for me of reclaiming the voice is yes, I found it in high school. I found it in a marriage, but then I started to lose it again. And the idea that how quickly can I tune back in, get back into a word like enthusiasm. For me this year, it's spaciousness. My word, spaciousness. Last year, it was vision and collaboration. And a lot of things have come through. Look, we're all here. We have visualized this moment together. But when I tune back in, one thing I know no one can take from me ever again is my voice. And the more I can build a confident through line, and the graph I'm going to share with you in a moment gets into the chakras. It doesn't have to be chakras, it's just placement. But how we can really, from the bottom of our root chakra to the top of our crown, step into our magic, our confidence. No one can take it from you. You can walk into any room. You don't have to be a performer or a speaker to use this kind of confidence. And I think there's nothing better than when you can use your voice. And then, you know, Abigail, in that moment, you can think about what you can do as you sit still with that. You didn't share really specifics, but what you can do to tune back in, to also not attach ourselves to the stories that people tell us. You know, it's when we're children, we don't have those tools. Somebody says something to you, you're selfish, you're this, you're that. That's what you are. You don't really know any different. And it's hard. I have to constantly reparent that little girl and remind her, yeah, you felt, you know, lost and unheard in a household that was chaotic, and your parents are having an open marriage, and I don't really know how to have a relationship. And this is what I'm being modeled, right? But now I'm adult. Now I have my own experience, and I don't have to get lost. I got caught in blame and anger for a very, very long time. And it was through learning how to trust myself and my inner voice that gave me the power for my outer message, to now know that I don't have to be that little insecure, scared little girl anymore. And I have to constantly go back and sort of embrace her. So if that resonates with you, put some ones in the chat if that resonates with you. And I love helping build that confidence. And I think it starts with our voice. Melanie, did you have a story you wanted to share?
Yeah, you know, in addition, for me, it's not only what other people say, but it's how I interpret what's being done or said, and then the story that I then repeat to myself.
100%.
And I can share a story about it, or that was just the point that I wanted to bring out.
Let's, I think that is a great, it's a great point. And it's the story that we start to attach to. So it's this whole idea of detaching from those stories. And this is where, for me, mindfulness and meditation can really bring me back, even when I'm sitting in the most uncomfortable stuff. I want to move on because you guys all share with me at the top of this that you want to know some tips and tricks for actually using our voices. So I'm going to give you a little sneak peek at something that I like to use. And it's a graph. And I have to give full on credit to my colleague, Lisa Foster, for creating the graph. And then I'm going to give credit to myself for how I like to use this graph. So, and this is something you guys can write on a Post-it for yourself and keep it by your, let's see. Can you all see that? Wonderful. Okay. So on the left side, we have pitch and volume. We have pitch. Okay. So that is coming from the bottom, like way down deep, to the top, which is way up here. So the way I like to use this graph, and you guys can all sort of play with this, is if the center line were like the chakras. And someday I'll have a graphic person do this for me that is like colorful, and that's what's going to go in my book. Okay. So if you have an idea on that, I'm open for suggestions. Put that out there. So, and everyone can play around with this, or I can use one example person might be helpful. But the idea with this is, in the center of this is just our neutral tone, where we're talking when you're just speaking with someone at a dinner table, kind of the voice I'm using right now. When I raise my pitch a little bit, I'm coming up to my, like between my eyeballs. So that's what I call the third eye. Okay. So I'm just raising it a little bit. When I come up here, I'm like way at the top here. You might even not be able to hear me because Zoom does that sometimes. So I'm right here. Over here is volume. So now the voice. It's crazy, right? So what emotion, type in the chat, what emotion do you get when I say, I'm going to use this word, I love chocolate. What emotion do you get from I love chocolate when I say it up here? Wait, I got to see. I can't see the chat. What do we got? What do we got? Or you can say it out loud. You guys can say it out loud. Come off mute and say it out. Excitement. Okay, great. Yes, bubbly, energetic. Okay, great. So I'm going to annotate up here. Annotate. Let's get the text. Excitement. Okay, excitement. Now, same placement of my voice. What do you get from this? I love chocolate. What do you get from that? I can't see the chat fast enough. Someone just say it out loud. Say what you hear. You have to come off mute, somebody.
I think it still sounds
scary. Okay, so I'm going to say frantic. Okay.
Yes.
So now what we've learned is way up here could be two different, almost contrasting emotions, but it's the volume. So what's different? Well, what's happening differently is what's on my face. It's a little bit more constricted. So the voice is coming out a little strained, but the energy is still there. So this is where I get nervous and excitement are basically the same thing. So this is an area you guys can actually think about fear. When you feel fear, you feel constricted, but often your fear is driving you towards something that you want, which is excitement. So this is another way to sort of think about using your fear and taking it along for the ride to something you want. I'm combining a lot of thoughts here, but this is where the voice is super, super powerful, you guys, because whatever you're feeling is probably going to come out in your voice. So this flipping of our mindset is also going to come out in our voice, right? So now let's go back to neutral. Actually, I would love to do this with a volunteer. May I have a volunteer? And for some reason, I'm feeling like Ed, you're going to be my volunteer. I'm volunteering you.
That's voluntold, not volunteered.
Voluntold. Here we go.
Are you willing?
Yeah, of course. You know
Okay,
how I
great.
am, Justine, but I'll try to get through it.
Yeah, you don't have to know anything to do this. Okay, so I just want to hear your neutral tone. Your neutral tone when you just say, I love chocolate.
I love chocolate.
I love chocolate. Okay, great. When we come up a notch and we're thinking about this area here, let me get my, one area I use this, you guys, a lot is when I do audiobooks, right? Because maybe a younger character comes in the room. So you raise your pitch ups just slightly. I love chocolate. So that's where I'm like, tap your forehead. Everyone can try this. Tap your forehead. That's the third eye placement. And say, I love chocolate. Just bring it up a little bit. I love chocolate.
I love chocolate.
Great, right? Now that's probably not a voice that Ed uses a lot. Right?
Not very often.
Right. But if you were to start thinking about how do you want to bring excitement into your talk, think about raising your pitch a little bit. Now come up even higher. Now this is not a place that this is more like character work for you, but come up, now tap the top of your head, you guys. Tap the top of your head and say, bring it way up.
I love chocolate.
And it's funny, and so this is where we can play with discovery. Okay, let's go back down the other way. We're going to go back down.
Justine, can I add something? When I was thinking about doing that before I did it, I was kind of freezing, like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? And I was like, just try it. And when I just tried it, my voice went even higher than I thought it could. So the thinking was automatically stopping me, but the tapping and just doing let me raise to a higher octave or whatever it's called.
Octane. And it is like octane. So I love that you just said that, Ed, because it's true. And that's why I bring in the physical. Remember this, motion creates emotion. So that physicality. Now, obviously, I don't want you guys standing on stage going like this, right? People will be like, what the heck is she doing? Unless you're me and I'm explaining this concept to you. However, what you can do is elevate your body language. When we get into dialects, which I do a lot of dialects, I'm working on a Greek. I'm working on a Greek dialect right now. And it's how, and so it's my posture that helps me with that dialect. Same with if I'm doing a British dialect and I'm more upright. Our posture affects our voice. So we're not going to go into a dialect class, but we could at another time. Okay, so now when we add the volume to it, it even gets more, it increases. But let's go back the other way. Let's take Ed down the other way. So now this, if you want to think about your throat chakra, okay, so this could be like your throat chakra here. So let's go back to I love chocolate.
I love chocolate.
Now come down a notch. I love chocolate. So now think about your heart chakra. Heart chakra. I love chocolate.
I love chocolate.
You guys can all do this off mic too. Okay. Now come down even further to like your stomach, like your belly. I love chocolate.
I love chocolate.
Okay. What are you guys getting an image of? And I'm getting like the cutest monster.
Cookie Monster.
Cute monster. Okay. Now when you come really deep, I love chocolate.
I love chocolate.
Okay, great. So now we're getting, and you're hearing some guttural sounds, right? Again, we get more vulnerable when we get into a deeper tone in our voice, and that's going to be different for everybody. Now things get really interesting. Let's come over to this, what I call the lower left. My voiceover students know when I say lower left, they know what it means. So now you're going to get softer with your volume, but still say deep. Can you try, I love chocolate?
I love chocolate.
Okay, great. Can you guys type in do that again?
Oh, I love chocolate.
Okay. What emotional tone is coming to mind, guys? And I'm loving this, Ed. I'm loving this, Ed. You're a voiceover actor in the making.
Sign me up.
Creepy, kind of creepy. Okay, great. I mean, not great, but yeah, great. Because guess what we need, like in a story sometimes, if you're telling a story about something that happened and it was maybe a little scary, think about the 3 P's, you guys. We're dealing with pitch, we're dealing with pace, and we're dealing with physicality. And then we're adding volume into that. The 3 P's are pitch, pace, and physicality. So down in that lower left, now I want you to try something else. I want you to try raising your eyebrows. I call this eyebrow acting, and giving us a little deep tone where we're saying, I love chocolate. Now I'm still down in that lower left. Can you try that?
I can't do the one eyebrow like The Rock. I have to do both.
Okay, that's okay.
I love chocolate.
Okay, can someone please type in the chat what emotional tone you're getting from that delivery? That was sexy, says Lorna. Yes, it was. So what are we finding out, you guys? Isn't our graph fascinating? Down in the lower left, we can have sexy or creepy. So I'm not going to go a whole lot further with this, but what I really love to do is take the feelings wheel, which literally feelingswheel.com. Brene Brown uses it, just like everyone uses this graph. It's wonderful because in the center of the graph, we have these basic feelings that we have: happy, sad, anger, surprise. Off of these basic emotions come all these interesting ones like frantic, which is embodied with excitement and nerves, but it's also a good feeling and a bad feeling, right? Sexy and creepy, good, bad, right? So this is where our pitch can come in. This is where our smile can come in. Everyone just make funny faces right now with your face. Make a surprise face and gasp. Right? So just the gasp, using your breath. Now, obviously, I'm very, very conscious of this when I'm recording an audiobook, for instance. Sometimes we're cutting out breath. Sometimes we're using breath. Marita.
Is volume literally volume, or is volume literally volume?
So, okay, this is a volume literally is, yes, being louder or being softer. Now, when I'm behind the microphone, I've got to watch, I've got to back off from the mic. When I'm on stage, it's a totally different thing, but I am usually mic'd if I'm on a big stage, right? So volume is kind of internal, but it's also external. You know, in theater, we're taught to project to hit the back row is what we try to do. Now, what's the intention behind it, right? You can do all these things without the emotional. This is all about, you guys, connecting this piece to this piece, which is why I like using this chakra vision. If you just do this, but you're not feeling anything, nothing's going to come across to your audience. I know we have like 15 minutes left. I want to ask, did I answer your question, Marita? Okay. There's a lot here. The next piece would be kind of looking through how to find, what do I want to say? So there's, what do I want to say? And then how am I going to deliver it? And, you know, Lauren and I were talking about this yesterday, but I asked you guys starting out today, what would be the most important thing to come away with? And since I'm a voiceover expert talent, I think I'm glad we could give that, but I want to share with you, and then I want to take some questions. I used a little chat GBT, and I decided, like everybody else, I got to have my acronym for what I'm doing. And this was so beautiful. So reclaim. And I can type this in and give it to you later, but R, reflect. Reflect back at the moment where your voice was magical. That's step one. Just remember that. Don't think about the shutdown. Empower, E, empower. Find the strength and the experience in your stories. Maybe there is a story that is going to unearth when you start thinking about when your voice felt shut down. And this might be because this might be about finances. You know, Ed and I were talking about how we are programmed. We are programmed by whatever we were told. So we want to look back in all the different life zones, but what's, you know, your zone of genius? What are you saying to the world? So E is empower. How are we going to empower finding the strength and the experience from your story? C, connect. Engage with your inner self and engage with your audience. And your voice can help you do that. L, my favorite, something that I have a hard time doing sometimes, listen. Pay attention to not only what someone's saying to you, but what you are telling yourself. What are you telling yourself? Are you taking yourself down? And can you flip that, you know, that inner critic? A, act. Take the steps to start expressing yourself using some of these tools. I, inspire. Share your journey with other people. One of the things that's so beautiful about this DIVA Network is getting to know all of you and sharing our zone of genius together and how we can rise together by inspiring each other. And then finally, M, maintain. How can we maintain and continue to nurture our voices, to build our confidence? How do we help each other and nurture one another? All right, I'd love to take some questions. Thank you for writing that down, Lorna. Beautiful. And these can be questions about the process of finding your voice, the process of using your voice, or if you guys want to just even ask me like, well, how do you record an audiobook and what goes into that? I'm okay sharing some of those things too, because here's the thing. I have a feeling you're all going to write a book or write something, and recording it as a giveaway, recording it for posterity or to get it on Audible, wonderful, wonderful thing to do. Okay, Solani.
Girl, thank you for this amazing presentation. And yes, I definitely had that question on recording the Audible version of my book. It's already published, but I do want to do the Audible version. So girl, let's build it too.
Yeah, so, you know, this is an interesting topic because a lot of authors want this in your own voice. And that is understandable. It's a lot of work. I recently went to a reading in New York City at a place called the Tenement Museum. Has anyone ever been to the Tenement Museum? It's an incredible museum where they have live actors recreating immigrant situations from the 1930s and 40s. It's beautiful. Anyway, this woman was a pretty accomplished author and she had an acting background. And I went in and looked at all the authors to look for who didn't have an audiobook because I wanted to go meet them and sort of like pitch, not my services, but I have another industry business where I'm working with someone who we're matching narrators, publishers, and authors. And here's why we're doing this. It's hard to just pick up the book and try to narrate it yourself. Now, let me ask you, Solani, is that what you want to do? Or would you like to find a narrator to do the book for you?
I really want to have it on my own voice because to me, that connection with the audience is very important.
Yeah. So here's the thing. There's two ways of looking at this. Of course, you do want it in your own voice. I would consider how long the book is. I would consider how confident you are. And you might be able to find, and these are all considerations because do you have the right equipment? Before the end of this, I can show you guys my home studio. It's not a hugely difficult thing to do, but if you're not if you don't have all this training, it could take a very long time, be very frustrating, or be very expensive. And you might want to consider working with a narrator. This is kind of a deeper conversation. And I understand the reason. So I would look at what do you feel your zones of genius are? Do you have the right equipment? Getting something approved on what we call ACX, which is the back end of Audible, is not easy. I have had books rejected even after they've passed all the checks. So we can talk further about that. And one of the reasons that Kathy and I are doing this business called Just Cat Audio is because we run into this a lot where authors don't know how to make their audiobooks, or they're looking at narrators that really can't accomplish what is needed. It's a process and it takes a long time to do it, but it's not impossible. So I would happy sidebar with you at that, but it might be possible. This is what I want you guys to think about as an author. You might be able to find somebody that's talented that can really bring your voice to life better on audio than even you can. It's different if you're like a Mel Robbins or you're a known entity. And maybe for the first one, it's not your voice. But I've heard many of you guys know David Fagan. David and I were talking about this, and he was like, he hired someone because he didn't want to take the time to do it. But people were disappointed because they knew him. They're like, well, I wanted to hear you. So think about that too, and your audience before you jump in, and maybe do a trial or look at look at some other authors, but that's a bigger conversation, but I'm happy to have it. Any other questions about for you or things you struggle with when you get on stage? Does anyone just feel like they freeze and okay, Sue, let's talk about that for a second. Are you willing to share? So, yeah, let's hot seat for a second.
Okay. Well,
tell me.
I've been speaking online and I have a script and I'm very good at all of the voice inflections and the voice, the facial things. And my next step is to get on stage in person, and that terrifies me. And so I want to know how I can make that from the top, the scary kind of a deal, how to make that transition from being online.
Do you mind if I spotlight? I'm going to spotlight her for a second.
Yeah, being online to in person, that would be lovely.
So I get it, because when we're online, wasn't this nice when everything went on Zoom? And I will tell you guys, I'm great with the script. See, I'm great with a script too. But I'm not good with structure. I'm also pretty good at improv, but I'm not good with structure. And sometimes my improv will take me on a tangent. Okay. So that fear of, well, what do I do when I don't have that script, right? And one thing I want to ask you, when you are presenting on Zoom, are you really using that script, like following it to a T, or do you think you're looking at bullet points?
I'm reading it.
Okay. So that's the first thing I want you all to stop doing. Do not read your presentations. Challenge yourself. Even if you put the whole thing into ChatGPT, get the bullet points, put that in front of you. The challenge, that's how you are growing, and do it here. Maybe what we can do is we can start having, like speaking workshops, but challenge yourself to not read. That's voiceover, right? I do that in the booth, but when I'm speaking, I don't have a script, and you'll learn it with time, and it does take practice in front of other people. So that's the first thing I'm going to challenge you to do, is stop reading, even for your online presentations. Start to learn that's trusting that inner voice. I bet, Sue, you know this material so much better than you think you do.
Yes.
And another way to try this is record yourself, challenge yourself to record this talk without any notes and listen back to it. See what you've left out. That's a great learning. That's a great way to learn through that too. Okay. Those are two things I would start to do.
All right. I received that, and I will run to up level.
I love it. All right, Ed, what you got?
I love that. I've kind of gone through that early transition, Sue. I used to read everything off a script, and then I got to where I would do bullet points, and then I got to where I would do my presentation like I'm going to do this slide with no notes, no bullet points, and then it turned into 2 slides and 3, and then eventually I have it all. But Justine, my question is, I speak on stage several times a year, different size audiences, 50 to a couple thousand people, and I don't have a problem with the stage presence. I don't have a problem with the nervousness. None of that bothers me. I still do bullet points to keep me on track, because I'll get up there, I'll get on a tangent and go sideways. So I'll do like a little PowerPoint behind me with bullet points to keep me locked in. I start off, very loose, very tied in with the audience, making jokes and things like that. But as I continue to go on, I catch myself all the time, especially when somebody records it, sends me the video. I usually, before the end of my 30, 45 minute, hour long, however it is, talk 15 minutes, I get away from the fun loving interacting with the audience, Ed, and I get so very direct, which is my natural personality, that I start one way and I usually finish in a whole different way. And I'm like, dang, that's not how I wanted that to go. Like I become so direct that some people are like, I love it, you hit me. And some people are like, oh my God, like you turn into like Jekyll and Hyde on stage. How in the middle of this, and I tell you a secret too, I did learn. Sometimes I talk about personal stories and it gets emotional, and somebody told me this and it works. I'm gonna share it with the group right now. If you start getting emotional, you think you're gonna shed some tears, squeeze your butt cheeks together. When you squeeze your butt cheeks, you stop thinking about the emotions. So it helps me. But
well, I'm just going to pause you on that note in particular. And in acting, we're often told, don't let the emotion go too far. You will, if I lose it, if I completely break down on stage, you guys are going to feel uncomfortable, be like, oh my God, but if I go to that edge, so I think that's kind of where the butt cheek squeeze comes in, right? That edge where you can feel the connection with the audience. They're relating to you. but you don't want to go too far. And so but you want that sense of vulnerability, which is what I heard. I pointed out in Jimmy's voice. And even think about the graph, you guys. When you get to that more vulnerable place, you're in a deeper tone of your voice. So I think your question, if there was a question, or did you not quite?
No, my question was I can feel myself sometimes as I'm speaking, transitioning into, the Incredible Hulk rather than how I started, the funny connectivity with the audience person. But I've never been able to like flip it back to, I always just keep going down the same path. How on stage, like what's something, a cue that I could do on stage to kind of bring myself back away from the edge of going psycho to, staying the fun loving person that I was at first in the beginning of the speech?
That's a great question. And you know what it is, you guys? It's the 4th P, pause. When we're on stage and that energy is going, we also have the power, just like I did just now, to slow it all back down. You have them. What I feel like you're telling me is you have them. They are connected with you. They are on your ride. So what you need to do at that moment is go, breath. Here's a great acronym for pause. Heard this in a 12-step meeting. Did not make this up, but I claim it. Okay. Postpone action until serenity emerges. So I don't want you to stay up on stage for 5 minutes. This is where the power of the pause within ourselves, but it's like, you got to come back to yourself, tune back into that more vulnerable guy, because that's what's probably going to wrap up your whole talk, even with more power. There's power in that pause. And you're giving the gift of the pause back to your audience when you take it yourself. So before you come in with that, whatever your roundup is, so
That's
when
good.
we go back and we want to reclaim our voices.
That's so good. Because it really is that. Like once I get going, I can feel the energy and I start getting more hyped up, and then I go down a whole different level, whole different road than what I intended. So that'll be good. That I can pause and kind of reset.
And there's things that you guys can do too. Like if, let's say you connect to like a certain kind of a smooth rock, Julia Cameron talks about all these tricks. If you guys haven't looked at The Artist's Way, I highly recommend it. Let's bring Marita back up to ask her question. But
thank you, Justine.
You're welcome. That was a great question. Think about things that are tactile. When if any of you are moms, I had a little blankie that I gave to my son, and it was called his lovey, right? And it would calm him down. Maybe it's your necklace. Something that brings you back to like, okay, this reminds me of when I picked this up in at a yoga studio in the Poconos. Okay, that reminds me of when I was there, right? So bring yourself back to your heart. Yeah, Marita.
Yeah, Justine, love your presentation and thank you for this. My question is, when you are on stage, do you use sort of a format, like you have a good opener and then you speak, you talk about what you're going to talk about, and then you talk about what you're going to talk about, and then you recap what you just talked about?
Yeah, I think there's a format that we used that I was trained with Justin Michael Williams, my mentor and coach. And I don't have it in front of me, but it starts out with like a little heart. How can I connect? What's my story about? What's that origin story, that moment, right? Then we can go into something that, can you relate to that? Can you guys relate to feeling like your voice got shut down and you all raised your hand? So there's that moment of relating to your audience. Then there's got to be some kind of like a teaching of some kind, or, sometimes it's going to be a meditation. Like sometimes with me, it's going to lead into a meditation about a certain thing. And then we're going to come out of the meditation or the teaching back to something, a little heart, a little heart, which I didn't really do a little heart yet, but like I do a talk on forgiveness. And I talk about how this open marriage, I hate it. I really got to resent my mother, and I really just could not get past everything that was going wrong in my life was her fault kind of thing. But I got to a moment where I understood through meditation that she did the best she could. And so I forgave her. And I really went through that forgiveness. And the beautiful thing was, a few months later, I found out she only had a few months left to live. but I got to really show up. I didn't have to force myself to forgive her then. I got to just show up and be a part of her life. And that was my story of forgiveness. So my little heart was that I found out she was going to die in a few months, but I already had gotten through the forgiveness. So, but I've taken you through the meditation of forgiving. And now you're thinking about what in your own life do you want to let go of or forgive more? I don't know if that really helped you, but those 4 things. So it's sort of like a statement story. It's your relate. How do I get my audience to relate to me? The teaching, and then the little heart, which brings you back. It's kind of like the conclusion when we learned how to write stories. So that would be the 4th thing. That's one format. Does that help?
Yes, yes. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Lorna, and I know we're at 10, so JKN, let me know if we need to wrap it up. Oh, you're muted.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Is Ed still here? Is Ed still here?
Jump off to another appointment.
Okay, I wanted to ask him the question about when he went to that edge.
Yeah.
How did he come out of that feeling? Because he
Well,
didn't say, huh?
He said he squeezed his butt cheeks, but that was more about not getting too emotional. Yeah, I think what he was saying is that's what he wanted, some tools on how to get back into like his body and not be the Hulk anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was just curious to see if he answered that question for me. What was your question for me? I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't have a question for you. I think we're at the top of the hour. And
okay.
So
real quick, let me ask you all a question. Who's here? Was this valuable for you? Did you find value in this presentation? Put a 1. If you want more, put a 2. If you want a whole workshop, put a 3. We want to know what to bring to you guys. So, and what was your biggest takeaway for yourself? So, was it of value? And what was your biggest takeaway? And we're gonna have some more trainings on format. I love that came up, Justine, from Marita in terms of the format. Because then we'll get deeper on that, because I think that's sometimes where even myself, I get carried away. But if you follow the framework, then it's easier for you to stay on track.
And it also helps with the other question about not having things memorized. And that's one thing, I was taught when you read, and this is the trick, and this is the beauty of voiceover. And I will close with this. In voiceover, I am reading, but I have learned how to read and make the words sound like they're coming out of my head naturally. And that is a skill. And Sue, I can help you with that too. So that is, sometimes I really think voiceover coaching and training can work beautifully into speaking and all these other things. I want to thank you guys for allowing me to be up on stage with you today. I really hope this was of value. Please reach out. I love feedback. That's how we all grow. Done is better than perfect. That's the biggest thing I'm going to say. So if you've got a desire, you've got the book, you've got the talk, do it. That's the most important thing. We learn by feedback, and that's what we're all here to give to one another. So I thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. You guys know how to reach me.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Justine.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. Just a really quick reminder, this afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central is our onboarding, our live onboarding session. So if you have anybody that is a free member that is ready to join the Divas, get them on that call with Anna and Leah so they can get them enrolled. Remember, we brought back credit cards so people don't have to necessarily fund their wallet with crypto if they want to skip that step. Let's see what else. So that's this afternoon. And then tomorrow is our Diva Business Breakthrough, our mastermind session. It starts at 11. Make sure you give yourself an hour and a half for that session, because the mastermind, the small groups, are going to take a good amount of time so that everybody in the group can go. Marita, do you have a question for me or for Justine?
Yeah, for you, JKN, when is the best time for someone to come to network with people from Africa?
That's a great question. Dr. Andrea is on, but I think she might be traveling, so I don't know if she can answer that question. I do not know off the top of my head what the Africa schedule is right now. So,
hi, JKN. We are waiting because this week Adora and Jimmy, they are very busy. Sorry about the noise, I'm at the airport. So we are waiting to have the opportunity to meet and see what's going to be the strategy following on.
So Maritza will announce those things as soon as we know. And I know that are you in the there's a Africa chat. Are you in that chat on WhatsApp? Because that'll be the best place to stay up to date. Okay. Dr. Andrea, please add Maritza, if you can, to the Africa chat so that she can stay up to date on what's going on.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much. See you
Thank you.
tomorrow for the mastermind, and have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.